Former President Donald Trump has requested a delay in the defamation lawsuit he's facing from writer E. Jean Carroll. His legal team claims they need more time to consider appellate options, including a possible appeal to the Supreme Court. Joining us now for more is CBS News reporter Graham Kate. So walk us through this.
Sure. So this is, again, all of his cases are kind of coming together. His claim of presidential immunity in this defamation case has already been rejected by an appeals court. But his attorneys yesterday asked for 90 days to weigh whether they can kind of tie this into some of his other cases where he's claiming presidential immunity and bring this to the Supreme Court maybe. And this is a kind of an ongoing thing where this lawsuit was filed by E. Jean Carroll, the writer, years and years ago while he was president. And now that he's not president, he's continued to say this shouldn't be allowed to go forward. And I want to make sure there's some clarity here. There was already a defamation and sexual abuse lawsuit brought by her that went to trial. That was based on a separate set of claims from this one. This had to do with defamation for denying those claims while he was president, using his kind of public megaphone to do so. It was delayed for a long time because the Justice Department was backing him because he was president at the time, and then it's moved forward on a slower track because he stopped being president but continued to make this claim. And they're trying one more time because the trial is scheduled for January 16th. And they're saying now even Jack Smith, the special counsel, is talking about bringing is making filings about the Supreme Court really quickly deciding about the limits of presidential immunity.
Right.
And we want to see how that goes.
So, you know, what happens if the January 6th case that Trump is facing, what happens if that's delayed?
It's so interesting. I think we've got two criminal cases scheduled for March, and it's hard to imagine them both happening because of the way, you know, there's too much of a conflict there. There's the Jack Smith January 6th DC one. That's scheduled for March 4th. If that were to get delayed, then the March 25th one here in New York City that has to do with an entirely separate set of allegations related to falsification of business records during his first presidential campaign in 2016, that would kind of clear the way for that one to move forward. But if the Supreme Court decides this immunity thing quickly and the Jack Smith DC case goes forward on March 4th, there's a good chance that March 25th one gets delayed because that's only 3 weeks later, and it's hard to say you need to have two criminal cases. You, the defendant, Trump, it's not really fair to say you need to have two criminal cases in a month colliding together.
And the D.C. case, the federal case, I guess, would take priority over what's happening in New York.
Yeah, I mean, inherently, it's scheduled first, right? So, but there's a hearing in February in the New York one where they're going to see if that D.C. one has to delay it. But if the D.C. one's not happening in March, then there's not really much else to delay the New York one.
What does your work calendar look like? Do you have like all those arrows and highlights and asterisks?
Right now, there's two spots for trials, and they both have question marks next to them.
So let me ask you about Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who just filed for bankruptcy just days after he was ordered to pay $148 million in damages to two election workers in Georgia for misinformation about them. So what's next in the case? And when are the victims going to get their dang money?
Well, so that was the thing the day before. So 2 days ago, the judge in that case ordered him to begin paying them immediately and saying, you know, 30 days, which is typically the amount you get in a bankruptcy proceeding before you have to, in a defamation proceeding before you have to start paying over that money. The judge said that's actually too much time for him to potentially start obscuring his assets. So we want the payments to start immediately. And then the next day, yesterday, Giuliani filed for bankruptcy. Their attorneys, the attorneys for the two election workers who were defamed, said, we expected this to happen. We're not surprised, but we do want to start getting the payments right away. And what Giuliani's team said was, of course, he doesn't have $148 million to start paying out. And in fact, in the bankruptcy proceeding he filed, he said he actually has $152 million in debt, so another $4 million, including federal tax liens. And what they said was, this is going to give us time to figure out to give us time to appeal, to figure out how to start paying money if we have to. But there's something to consider, which is that your debt from a defamation case, your tort debt, is not, it isn't like a bankruptcy proceeding has the ability to wipe that away. They're two separate brackets of debt. So there's no world where this bankruptcy proceeding wipes out the judgment against him in that defamation case.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
All right, Graham, thank you so much.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you.